All right, so we're looking at today's lesson. We're looking at distance and midpoint. Fairly straightforward. Find the distance between 2 points. Find the midpoint between 2 points. And then if I give you a midpoint, a coordinate, tell me where the other endpoint would be. That's basically what we're going to be looking at today. So it's 3 skills. So fairly straightforward. Before we go into much detail on that, we're just looking at distance and midpoint today.
You have a chair. You have a chair I can stand on. Or you have a ladder.
I don't know if you give a leg, you can stand on.
I'm going to borrow a chair.
I think they have a ladder out there in the hall.
Sorry to disturb you.
Oh, that's fine. I'm trying to learn it. Okay, so distance between 2 points. What are some terms that we use in math or in other classes or just in out just talking to other people? What are some terms that we've used to represent distance?
Miles.
Terms or phrases?
Miles.
Say that again, Sarah?
Miles.
Miles? Okay. So that would be like a unit of distance, would be in terms of miles. What are some other words? Chris? Block. Block. Now these are units of distance, but what are some terms that mean distance? So for example, if I told you to find the distance, length is a perfect example. That's what I was looking for, something like length. That tells you to find the distance between those 2 points. What's another term similar to length? Maybe used in a phrase. What are you guys thinking? No, you guys don't blame me. I don't want to talk this much. But you guys do a lot of the thinking. What are some other terms other than distance and length that mean the same thing? And what about things like how far? So when a question asks you how far these things are away, that would be distance. Matt?
How close?
How close? Very true. All right, so we need to think about what is distance. Again, it's actually not too bad if you think about it in very simple terms. Think about a number line. Let's say that on my number line, I start over here at 3. And I count until I get to 10. What's the distance I've traveled? Well, guys, if I started at 3 and ended at 10, what distance did I travel? 7. Okay, how'd you get that? Minus 3, right? You take the final and subtract the original, correct? That's how we find distance. Another term that you might see in science is called displacement. So displacement and distance, always the same thing. It's the final minus the original. So when we think about a number line, it's not too bad. But when I have a diagonal, like we do here, going from point A to point B, how would you find the distance? The slope only tells me how fast that's increasing. It doesn't tell me the actual distance. So how far over I went and how far up I went, but how we find the distance? Yeah. Any ideas that you guys have? Okay, well, let me ask you this. Does this look familiar? Look familiar to anyone? Okay, what is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Diagram.
What does it mean?
It's roughly like one side, two shorter sides squared, add them together, you get the longer side squared.
There we go. The square of the sum of the square of the lengths is the square of the hypotenuse. That's actually what the diagram there says. But a squared plus b squared equals c squared is much easier to know and to use. So, where's my a, b, and c in this problem? Well, I have my capital A and my capital B, which are completely different from little a and little b. Okay.
The A would be the top or bottom, or the right bottom line.
Okay. So I could call this A. And this side would be B. So where's my C? Yeah, that's my dark line, right? And I'm going to call that D because D is for distance. So if I use the Pythagorean theorem, well, I get A squared plus B squared equals D squared, correct? But do I want to know what D squared is, or do I want to know what D is? So how do I get D by itself? Come on, guys, okay? Algebra 1 question. If I have D squared, how do I get just D? Victoria? I could do that, but it's not going to quite get me to where I need to go. Okay, so that's not a bad idea. Take the square root. Remember, the square and the square root are inverses. They will cancel each other out. So we took the square root of both sides. And so we get D is the square root of A squared plus B squared. Now my next question for you is, what is A and what is B? So we've got this nice simplified version of D is the square root of A squared plus B squared. Now let's go back up here and actually talk about what A means. If this is x1, think about the horizontal, right? A is your horizontal distance. So this is x1, and this is x2. How do I find the total length of A? Matt? Okay. Well, let's say I didn't know that. So all I have are these variables, x1 and x2. How do I determine the distance between them? Chris?
You subtract the x2, or you subtract x2.
Exactly. Remember what we did up here in the front? We took the final and subtracted the original, correct? x2 is your final, x1 is your original. So A is x2 minus x1. So that's how you find your horizontal distance. Your vertical distance is the same concept, except for instead of x's we have y. So it's y2 minus y1. So when we're all said and done with a little bit of substitution now, we actually do get the distance formula. A little crazy here. And therefore, here's our distance. D is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. How many of you guys have had to deal with the distance formula before? Tell me about the problems that you guys had with distance. What's confusing about it? We got a bunch of squares, we got a bunch of square roots, got a lot of subtraction, we end up with some negatives. How do I subtract the negatives from the positives? And then I gotta remember Is the negative bigger or is the positive bigger? And does that make a difference with where the subtraction goes? Well, what if I got subtraction next to a negative sign? Now it's stupid, it's negative rules. Okay? And some of you guys are really good at memorizing the negative rules. That's all fine and dandy. I just want you to know how the number line works. As long as you understand that subtraction needs to go to the left on the number line, I'm completely happy. So if you know all the ins and outs of negatives and you memorize all the individual rules to how negatives work, that's fine. Just know that you go to the left. I'm going to show you guys a little technique today with distance formula that requires very little thought. Remember that the A is just how far apart they are, right? That's the horizontal part. And then the B was the vertical distance, correct? That's all you need to remember. Because when we actually look at this in practice,